In every sport, we come across some of the most interesting personalities and characters. The MLB has guys like Ozzie Guillen and Manny Ramirez. The NFL has the likes of Jared Allen, and the NHL has the likes of Sean Avery. We always seem to come across those wildcard personalities in sports. This is not the type of job where you can lose your job if you're completely out of line. You get to experience real people in a real environment. The NBA seems to have the most players where personalities are prevalent and outlandish. There are so many players who we could think of that are either hilarious, egotistical, or just flat out rude. We seem to be more personal with NBA players because of how much we see them. They don't wear any helmets, so we know what they all look like and notice all their facial expressions. They're personal with the officials, their coaching staff, and the organization entirely. They play in 82 games and are interviewed after every game, before games, during practices, and in the offseason. So today we take a look at several NBA players who have wildcard personalities. By wildcard, we mean players that could act one or another at any point during a contest. They have an extraordinary emotional frequency and could be on the other side of the spectrum. These players all wear their hearts on their sleeves, but each one utilizes their emotions in different ways. Metta World Peace. Where do we even begin when speaking of the personality of Metta World Peace? I guess you can start out with his name. Formerly known simply as Ron Artest, World Peace changed his name prior to the start of the 2011 and 2012 season. Why'd he do it? I'll leave it for World Peace himself to explain. Changing my name was meant to inspire and bring youth together all around the world. Of course it did. For those who don't know, the word metta is a Buddhist word meaning kindness and friendliness towards all. I suppose he could have just stayed out of the spotlight and not clotheslines 5'11" point guards, but this is good too. When he's not attempting to tear the heads off of Dallas Maverick point guards, he's actually one of the more colorful and entertaining personalities in the NBA. He's a fan favorite in Los Angeles, even though there's a collective no from 20,000 fans whenever he's getting set for a three-pointer, and he is extremely active on Twitter. He kisses his biceps, throws down dunks, and still surprises us, and is constantly instigating contact and being the initial reason for an altercation taking place. He's not as much of a loose cannon as he was in Indiana, when he ran into the stands of the Palace at Auburn Hills and started beating people up. He's more of a Roman candle that's fun to watch, but troublesome when aimed at spectators. Stephen Jackson. Stephen Jackson didn't play one game for the Milwaukee Bucks before he started complaining. He immediately started to complain about receiving a contract extension and ended up missing training camp, which was of great significance, considering that there was hardly any time to practice and get back into basketball shape after the lengthy lockout. So nobody was surprised when Jackson started playing and was absolutely terrible. He'd average 11 points per game on 36% shooting, would convert on 28% of the 4 3-pointers he was taking, dish out 3 boards and 3 assists, and turn the ball over 3 times to add some icing on this horrific tasting cake. Of course, Jackson wasn't just annoying on the court, he was also annoying off the court and would end up getting benched by Coach Scott Skiles. The Bucks needed a shooting guard, yet the team refused to start Jackson consistently at the 2. He started in only 13 games and got traded to the San Antonio Spurs after 26 games. He's done this for the majority of his career. He has horrible shot selection, takes too many shots, isn't committed on defense, and doesn't do much outside of scoring. Despite averaging 33 minutes of playing time for his career, Jackson's only averaged 4 boards and 3 assists to go along with 16 points per game on 41% shooting. Jackson usually allows his mouth to do the talking instead of his game. Matt Barnes. Over time, Matt Barnes has continued to rub me and many others the wrong way. He's always been a good defender and a solid role player who can disrupt the rhythm and flow of the opposition's offense. He hopped around from team to team to start off his career and found momentary niches in Golden State, Phoenix, and Orlando. He'd average as much as 10 points with Phoenix and would shoot well at 34% from beyond the arc. However, Barnes has always come across as an annoying player. I'm not the only one to share this sentiment, as Barnes has frustrated and annoyed many opponents. In fact, you may remember the time before he joined the Los Angeles Lakers when he was the mortal enemy of Kobe Bryant. Kobe didn't react, but Barnes was relentless. Barnes kept on poking and prodding, but Kobe wouldn't flinch, not even when Matt attempted a fake pass in his face. After witnessing that nonsense, it became clear to me that Barnes had one of the most unlikable personalities in the NBA. He wasn't that great of a player, couldn't hit the ocean from a boat, would constantly attempt jump shots that he couldn't make, and would basically be out of the court as an enforcer who would get under the skin of his opponents. Understood that there are plenty of players like Barnes whose role is to annoy, but he seems to do this personally. It's not just a simple hack and then move on to the next play. With Barnes, he'll hold vendettas like he did with Bryant before teaming up with him in LA. He also punched an opposing player during a lockout game. Imagine what he'd do if there wasn't anything holding him back in the NBA. Kevin Garnett. Metta World Peace is Chris Brown crazy. He's calm most of the time, but he'll also get riled up and start fighting anybody or throwing chairs out of windows in New York City. Kevin Garnett is Gary Bussy crazy. The crazy is consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Kevin Garnett. There isn't a question of whether Garnett is going to tone it down for this game because he was insane to start off. The only question is which 6-point guard isn't going to have to endure an earful of the intimidating power forward. Garnett has also let a number of guards verbally have it. He bothered Jose Calderon and did some unfamiliar act with Jared Bales. Threw a shoulder into Marco Bellinelli, and has had so many illegal screens that have gone uncalled, it makes you think that David Stern himself was on the court officiating the game.